Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another Lost Lake Fly Club fly tying tutorial. Tonight I'm going to be tying the Blue Flash Damsel. It's a pattern that has got many copies. This is my particular copy, and it's caught me lots of fish. But also I find that it mimics the natural far better than some of the dancer type patterns that you can get. So I'm going to start off with a 12/0 waxed Semperfli thread in olive, and I'm just going to put on my tying thread and form a nice bed of tying thread up to the bend of the hook, and just move the bead back. It does have a tendency to move forward. It's a size 10 hook. It's a Kamasan size 10 long shank streamer hook. And I'm going to bring my tying thread down to just between the hook point and the barb, and then take it a couple of turns further up and just remove the waist end. Okay, so we got to this point, and now I need my Marabou fly box olive, and I'm looking for some Marabou that's got some really long segments to it, really long pieces. And it's going to form my tail, and I tend to use proportions, so I'm going to use the length of the top part of my thumb as the amount of Marabou that I want to put in the tail. I don't like overpacking it because it makes the body a bit too thick, but I'm just going to pull it off the stem. I just need a little pair of scissors just to help me out there, and that's more than enough there for the effect that I'm after. Now I'm going to be very careful here, and I'm just going to move my fingers up and down to spread out the Marabou. I don't want it all compacted together at this point. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tie this in at the base. So I'm going to leave it quite long so I can adjust that later. And I'm just going to put a locking turn, one locking turn and a second locking turn. And I'm just going to make sure that I'm happy with the position. There you go. And then I'm just going to tidy that up back towards the bend of the hook. And I've got all this fluffy stuff here to deal with. Now, what I'm going to do with this is, at the moment, I'm just going to hold it in my right hand. And then with my left hand, I'm just going to bring my tying thread back up towards the bead. Now what this is doing is ensuring that the Marabou doesn't spin around the hook shank and sits just on the top of it, and it'll give me quite a nice tapered effect later on. And then I come in and I'm just going to nip off the waist ends and then just tidy up at this end here. Make sure I can still move my bead, and then I'm going to bring my tying thread all the way back down to the hook point. So I've got my tail in place. Now on my Blue Flash Damsel, I like to put in some crystal flash, and I don't have any evidence that says that it makes a significant difference, but it does catch me lots of fish, and I have a bit of confidence when I put it in. So I'm going to take 6 strands. You can use more, you could use less. It depends exactly what you want to do with this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 strands. There we go. Got my 6 strands. Just going to give it a pull, and there it is. There's my crystal flash. Now, got the ends here. I am just going to roughly even up all the ends with the crystal flash. That one's a bit too long, so I get them all roughly in line with each other. They don't have to be perfect at this point. So you can see I've got my points here, and now to get them so that they are together, I'm just going to snip the end off, and I'm then going to just turn my vise at a slight angle, and I'm going to position my crystal flash down the side of the shank of the hook, not the full length of the tail. I'm going to leave it about 5 or 6 millimeters before the end of the tail. And then I'm just going to put a locking wrap on and a second locking wrap. And I'm going to come in and just trim at the bead. Because what I'm doing here is ensuring that I've got a consistent underbody. And I'm going to turn it sideways again and repeat the procedure on the other side. So 1, 2, and it's locked in place. I'm going to come in and just cut it. Okay, so that's the first part of the second part of my tail in, sorry. Next I'm going to put in my blue flash. So I'm going to use some blue flash holographic tinsel, and I'm going to remove a section, and I'm going to repeat the procedure with the crystal flash again, but with the holographic tinsel. So I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to offer it up to the hook shank, taking my time, and I'm just going to tie that in and then just remove the excess again, and then I'm going to come in and tie in the second piece just on the other side. A couple of locking wraps in, and then trim off, and you can see that we've got this nice flash with the crystal flash running down as well. And this is the point now where very slowly, not a massive amount of tension, doing this very gently, I'm just going to take my tying thread back up towards the bead, and I'm trapping in neatly all of those excess pieces of crystal flash and holographic tinsel. And I'm going to come all the way back down. Doesn't have to be touching turns. I'm going to bring my thread all the way back down and tighten it in at the base of the tail, and then I'm going to move myself back up again, and I'm making a nice even underbody. So if you run your finger across it like this, there's no major steps in that underbody. And now I'm going to tie in a rib. So the rib I'm going to use is going to be Chartreuse wire. This is 0.18 millimeters for this size fly. I'm going to remove a length. What I'm going to do with the end part here of my wire is I'm going to insert it into the bead head. That helps it keep the bead stable in one place, but also gives me an opportunity just to trap it down at the head, and then very carefully, very neatly, I'm just going to bring my tying thread down to the base of the tail, and we've got our rib tied in. I'm just going to tuck that away into my tying clip. Now, next stage, I go back to my piece of Marabou, my original piece, because now I'm going to form the body using the Marabou for the body. I do this because for two reasons. Number one, it keeps continuity up through the fly, but also it gives a really nice tapered effect, and the implication that there's extra legs and gills that are somewhere along the length of the nymph. So I'm going to find a section. I want some nice long sections because I've got quite a long shank to wind this up. And I want about 1.5 centimeters. I don't want a massive amount. I'm just going to remove that end bit. So about 1.5 centimeters. There it is. Get rid of any bits that are sticking out, and I've got this nice long section that's going to form my body. So I'm going to tie this in at the tips, because I want the thinner section at the back, thicker sections at the front. So to do this, I'm going to take my tie and silk up towards the middle, and I'm going to come in under my tie and silk, and I'm going to use the weight of the tie and silk and the bobbin just to hold it in place. And I'm going to draw the points back so that they are not protruding past the bead. And then I'm going to tie down and go back all the way back down to the base, and then work my way all the way back up to my bead. And now I've got this piece of Marabou here. I'm not going to twist it, I'm not going to wrap it around my my tying thread. Literally, I'm just going to make touching turns as you would with a mylar body, just up the length. And you can see as we get further up, it starts to get bushier and thicker. And then you can see those sort of the leg styles. Just readjust this bit. Those legs that I was talking about and possible gills. I'm just going to bring it in and then put a locking turn in just behind the bead, and then put a second in. Now I'm going to come in with my scissors. I'm just going to nip off the waist like so, and we've gradually got this very lovely tapered body starting to appear. Now for the rib. So I like to put my rib on the opposite way to the way I would wind in my my tying thread, because then it means that my rib isn't going to fall down and get trapped between the segments. And I'm going to gradually bring it up the length of the shank in equal turns, equal distant turns. So there should be about 5, possibly 6, until we bring it right up to the end, and then right behind the bead. And I'm going to lock it down with a locking wrap, and put another one in. Get a few more in, because at this point we want it really secured in behind that bead. Here we go. And I'm going to hold my thread tight, and then I'm just going to worry off this end piece of wire. Shouldn't take too long. If you hold on to your tying thread and just hold it up and put a bit of tension on it, it happens quicker than if you just left it. I'm just going to position it and have a look. Make sure I'm happy with the position of my rib. Yep, looks pretty good. So next stage, I'm going to add some extra legs onto this. I'm going to use some olive partridge, and I've got some olive. There we go. I've got some olive partridge here. Need quite a large feather. There she is. And I'm going to strip away the fluffy bits of the feather, like so. And then I'm going to find the tip of my partridge feather with my fingers. I'm going to stroke everything back until I'm left with the tip. There she is. And then I'm just going to nip out that tip piece so that I'm left with a V shape like this. This is going to form my legs, and I'm just going to place it on the top like so, and I'm going to fold it down. I'm going to fold it down and then put a locking thread wrap in a second, and then I'm going to take my fingers off. I'm just going to position the legs down the sides. I'm just going to give it a pull back so that they start to splay out. I can give them a helping hand. There we go, nice little helping hand. And we start to get our legs appearing. And then I can come in and put a couple of extra securing wraps in, and I now need to remove the waste at this end, like that. Don't worry too much if you got bits sticking out, because we're going to cover those over with a little bit of olive dubbing to help us out. So with that in mind, I've got some olive dubbing here. With that in mind, I'm going to use some Trout Stalker Appleby olive. You can see that I like this one because I've used up most of it already. Look, you can see most of it's already gone. What I do is I just nip off a corner of the packet. I just feed it through so that I don't have to keep trying to open the packet all the time, and I just take out a little pinch. Don't need much for this, and I just dub it on as a dubbing rope. There we go, nice and tight. Move it back up. There we go. I haven't put any wax on it because I want to be able to move it. And then I'm going to put 1, 2, 3 is generally enough. I'm going to put 4. I'm going to put a couple more on that. Actually, I'm going to use it all, because actually it bedded down really nicely behind the bead. And I'm just going to adjust that. Let me bring my legs out, and we've got our almost finished blue flash damsel. So the final part is a little bit of varnish. So just going to take my Sally Hansen hard as nails. It's a fairly new bottle. It's not too gloopy. And then I'm just going to apply a little bit to my thread. And then I'm going to come in and whip finish, bringing that varnish in behind the bead so that it just secures everything in place. And there we have it. So in terms of our blue flash damsel, this is the Lost Lake blue flash damsel. Catches me lots of fish. I tie it in lots of different colours. And in fact, you can be creative with whatever it is you put into the tail, into the body. You don't have to tie it exactly like this, but it's the key base pattern for a very, very, very effective blue flash damsel. I hope you've enjoyed that, and give it a try. Get out there and fish it. It's an effective fly, as we all know. And I'll be back at another point with some other tutorials. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Don't forget to check us out at www.lostlakefly.co.uk, where you can buy lots of materials, hooks, fly cases, all sorts of things. But I hope to see you back here again in the near future. Thanks a lot.